So today we are out on the San Sebastian River to grab some water quality samples and some vegetation and sediment samples to try and figure out what our nutrient levels are and what the sources of that pollution is. We're going to be testing for nutrients, so nitrogen and phosphorus, chlorophyll A as well. Right now we are collecting samples of marsh grass, Spartina alterniflora, and we are going to send this to a lab to do stable isotope analysis, and that'll help to give us a better idea of where the nitrogen that this plant is feeding off of is coming from. So whether that is septic systems, whether that's residential fertilizer, whether it's wastewater treatment facility, effluent. So this will help us to get a better idea of why this waterway is polluted. So Silas is currently grabbing a sediment sample also to do stable isotope analysis. So the lab will be able to look at the nitrogen and the carbon in that sample and help identify essentially a chemical fingerprint that will give us a better understanding of where those chemicals are coming from and how they're making their way into the estuary. We're gonna head out on canoes in the San Sebastian River towards the State Road 16 bridge. And basically we're waiting for the tide to turn because we want to collect our water sample on an outgoing tide. That way we're really capturing everything that is coming from the land into the San Sebastian River. So all of the stormwater runoff, all the fertilizer from people's yards, all of the effluent from septic systems, all of that essentially is going to be washing into the San Sebastian River as the tide turns and goes out. And so that's when we want to grab our water quality sample in order to see what is actually making its way into the water. One of the biggest issues that we have around the Guantanamo-Matanzas watershed is that we've got water quality issues. The water quality is slowly declining, but it's not as bad as a lot of other places in the state. So we don't have the massive fish kills. We don't have the harmful algal blooms. And because of that, we're low priority for the state. They're not paying as much attention here. They're not doing as much sampling here. And so it kind of falls on the shoulders of organizations like Matanzas Riverkeeper to step in and help fill some of those gaps and do some of the work that they're not willing or able to do.
So we just got back off the water. Now we're kind of preparing our samples to get shipped off to the FDEP lab, Florida Department of Environmental Protection. Here's the sediment samples that we collected. Here's an example of the water that we collect. You can see that it doesn't look insanely dirty, but a lot of the stuff that we analyze for is dissolved within the water. So again, this is for those kind of physical aggregates. This one is sampled for the dissolved nutrient parameters, and it again is acidified to preserve those nutrients to make sure that the phytoplankton is not assimilating that nutrients as we're shipping it. And then lastly, we've got our chlorophyll A sample. This has to be kept in a dark bottle because the phytoplankton is driven by light. So if any kind of light gets into the water, then they might wake back up and start chewing at some of that phytoplankton. So the samples that we collect get analyzed for a few different parameters. So we collect for preserved nutrients, would include ammonium, nitrate, nitrite, total congeal nitrogen, total organic carbons, as well as total phosphorus. We also measure for chlorophyll A, which is again that proxy for the amount of phytoplankton or the amount of algae in the water column. And then also these physical aggregate parameters, looking at the alkalinity, the total suspended solids in the water, the turbidity and such. And then we'll expect these results back in about 3 to 4 weeks.
Okay, so we just got the test results in from the water quality sampling that we did. And in order to figure out what our total nitrogen is, we have to sum these two values together. And so it looks like our total nitrogen value is 0.614 milligrams per liter. And so the threshold for total nitrogen should be 0.55 milligrams per liter. That's the threshold for a healthy water body. So we are above the threshold for our total nitrogen. And then if we go over here to our biological indicators for chlorophyll A, our chlorophyll value is 17 micrograms per liter, and the healthy value for the waterway for that should only be 4. So the chlorophyll levels are significantly higher than what they should be for a healthy waterway. What that means is that the San Sebastian River is trending towards becoming eutrophic. It's trending towards becoming enriched for nutrients. And what that means is that there's going to be a lot of algae growth in the waterway, and that can eventually lead to some more severe water quality issues, like harmful algal blooms, like hypoxic conditions when there's not enough oxygen for marine life to survive. And so at this point, we're starting to see indicators of declining health in the waterway. And so it's important to get out ahead of this and try and start to bring that waterway back into a healthy condition before it gets too bad, before the conditions really start to collapse. So nutrients come from a lot of different places in suburban environments. One of the main sources of nutrient pollution in local waterways is fertilizer, so residential fertilizer, people that are putting fertilizer down on their lawns, on St. Augustine grass. Whenever it rains, the rain picks up that fertilizer and washes it into nearby waterways. Another big source of nutrient pollution is wastewater through both wastewater treatment facilities as well as aging septic tanks that might not be functioning properly. So things that people can do to help improve our water quality are reducing or eliminating fertilizer use in your yard, making sure that your septic system is being maintained and that it's functioning properly. And then the biggest one by far is educating our elected officials about the importance of maintaining our water quality. As a 501c3, Matanzas Riverkeeper can't endorse political candidates, but we can educate them about what the issues are, and it's much easier for us to do that when the residents of our community are doing that as well. Just making sure that our elected officials know how important our water quality is and what we stand to lose if our water quality continues to decline. If you're interested in getting involved with Matanzas Riverkeeper, you can check out our website. It's www.matanzasriverkeeper.org. You can also follow us on Facebook and Instagram.